Welcome back to the podcast Catch It, A New Perception. My name is Ketuk. Glad you're tuned in this week, and I hope that you find everything that you need in each and every episode of this podcast. Please share it with others if you think that they'll benefit. And thinking about love, joy, are they synonymous? How do we live in love? How do we live in joy? I say this because I think moving forward, we have certain things that we can learn about what love means to us, what it means to the people that we love, and therefore, how do we spread love? How do we share it? How do we encompass it? How do we allow love to be inside of us? Is it through the actions that we take? Are we able to share with other people whatever we have to share? Whether that's compassion. For some people that may be donating time, that may be donating money. That could be many different things that we share as a gift with someone. Is that an act of love? Is it an act of selfishness because we only do it to feel better? Do we only do it to benefit others? Is it a mutually beneficial relationship when we give? Can we give to others because we want to, because we need to, because it benefits us, because it benefits them? Mutually beneficial relationships can show love and do. Is there joy in that? For some people there probably is. For others, maybe not. How do we get to a point where we do what we do and we find contentment, love, respect, joy, whatever emotion we're looking for? How do we learn to take an action that gets us exactly where we want to be, seeing it and hearing it the way that we need to? You take a certain action and it allows you to feel a certain way. Someone else takes a different action and they're allowed to be able to feel the exact same way you did. Or someone takes the same action as you and they feel totally different. Maybe because of the intent behind that. Maybe because one person carries some trauma, some malice, whatever that may be, and they can't get to the same place at this moment as the person that takes the same action. What I found for me is that when I take an action and I give of myself, whether that's monetary, whether that's time, whether that's emotion, maybe the gift of a conversation, the gift of my presence, to actually go be with someone and spend time with them so we can share the presence of each other. Is that a gift that allows me to feel love? Is it a gift that allows them to feel love? The reason that I ask this is because what I'm finding in this lifetime is that I have joy by spreading love. And the more that I'm willing to encompass this, the more that I'm able to benefit from it. And I think that all of the benefits that I can get are good. I think it's good when it benefits me and you. I'll use this podcast for example. I do think it's a way of spreading hope. I think it's a way of spreading love. I think it's a way to be able to show people a little bit about who I am and what my journey's been and the work that I've done, not just over the last 35 years, just throughout my lifetime. The work that I have done to be able to get to where I am. I like being able to share my journey with you. Is that spreading love? Is that feeling love? For me, it is. Do others feel love or do they feel joy from that? I think sometimes people do. I think sometimes people respond to it better than the way other people respond to it, or they respond to it better at one moment than they do at another. And I say respond because your response may be internal. You may not verbalize it to me. You may not write a comment to me. You may not give me a thumbs up. You may not do any of those things. And it could affect you internally. And if it does that, then it accomplishes the essence of joy. It accomplishes the essence of hope, of love, and all of the things that we strive for in this podcast. What if it is that we just spread hope? What if we just share love? The underlining idea behind this is that people can be more comfortable in their skin. People can become greater than that, where they actually feel loved. Whatever it is that you need to be able to take that next trajectory upward, to get to know your higher self. Because when someone's on the bottom and they start to rise, they may be getting the biggest growth ever. And then in the future, as they continue to rise, they think that that breakthrough is there when it actually came at the beginning. And I say this because I learned this in yoga class. I was talking to the instructor, and I said, I think I benefit so much more today from yoga after being in the studio for maybe a number of years at this point. I don't know how long I'd been doing basically a weekly practice in the yoga studio. And I was talking about the benefits that I was getting. And somehow she implied, or her response to me was about the idea that maybe the biggest benefits came right at the beginning. And I understood that at that moment. I totally got what she was saying. And the nice thing is I've been able to encompass that into other aspects of my life. When I began to make some drastic changes in my life, because I suffered from a spiritual malady at one point in my life, and I didn't know a way out of it. And I began to make those changes. Those may have been way bigger changes 35 years ago that impacted my life than what I'm doing today. And I think the growth today is so much bigger in certain ways. Sometimes we can't necessarily identify it as one thing or the other, and they may be identical. There may be no bigger growth from one to another. One may be as big as the other. They may all be equal. And it's just the illusion that I learned more on this given day. That my eyes opened more on this given day. That I became more open-minded on this given day. Maybe that's all an illusion, and each event of my life offers me the exact same space of open-mindedness, of honesty, of integrity. So therefore, that whole basis of love has been offered the whole time. I'm able to walking through this lifetime, I know I want to continue to learn. What I am to teach is none of my business. Even through this podcast, I am here to share my experience with you. When you benefit from something that I say or something I do, or if you know me personally and I share something with you and you benefit from that, that's wonderful. And I don't say this in a selfish way. I say this in a way of self-care. That I benefit from it. When I volunteer my time, I benefit from it because I get out of that selfishness. Because I get to be in that one-ment, if you will. That connectiveness or that unity, whatever terminology you use. And I appreciate the fact that it seems like most of my listeners are getting to a point where they don't get caught up in terminology. If I use a certain terminology, they can find an essence of what it means to them. One-ment, unity, connectiveness. To me, all say the same thing. I use the word one-ment sometimes because I hear it less. Connectiveness, I like that terminology. It describes the unity. And sometimes just certain terminology I prefer, so I'm going to use it more often. When I speak of this great deities, I like the terminology the mystery, and I more often use the term the creator. As many of you people know, that's who I am today in my essence. And as we get through this time, as we learn more about ourselves, we continue to get to know our higher selves through this process. I doubt whether anyone has listened to all of these episodes other than myself. I listened to all of them at least 3 times. I have shared that probably in the past. And through this process, maybe I have benefited more from the love of this podcast, from self-love. That's not a selfish thing. I'm not taking away from anyone else because I take the time to listen to each podcast 3 times. I'm taking away from no one, therefore it is love. If I'm taking something, it may not be love. If I'm giving something, because I continue to listen, I'm giving to myself, and maybe I have the ability to give more to you in the future because I'm giving to myself each time that I listen to each and every episode. As I have just over 100 episodes out at this point, I have obviously listened to this podcast over 300 times. I think that that's healthy. I think it's good. I think it's good that I seek to go in, to learn, to listen, to be part of, to find that unity, that connectiveness to myself today. That is love. That is the baseline of love. And when I feel that connectiveness and I feel the love for myself without it being selfish, I feel joy. That's why at the beginning of this episode I was talking about joy and love and asking if they're synonymous in a sense. I know that they're not always synonymous. I get that. Or are they always synonymous? Are they always the same? Do they always coincide? Is it possible to give an act of love without joy? Is it possible to feel joy without someone showing love? Without someone allowing you to feel love? Throughout this podcast, throughout this episode, and throughout all of the episodes, the majority of the episodes that came before this, I attempt to ask questions. I ask questions because I don't need to make statements and talk about facts in the way that things always are or never are or anything like that. When I ask a question, I do it so that I am questioning it myself, so that I can see more, so I can open my eyes, so I can open my heart, so I can learn, so I can be present, so I can feel love. Moving forward, we're going to continue to talk about a lot of the things we've talked about in the past, and we're going to continue to see them differently. Some of the terminology may be the same, some of the subjects may sound similar. And are they? You will never experience this moment again in your life. Appreciate this moment right now, right here. Be part of. Find the one-ment with yourself, find that connectiveness with others, and find the unity with all. We are united, we are not divided. Looking forward to next time. Live in harmony with and use the bounty of the land to bring kindness to the world.